Most welcome, dear students. My name is Dhyan Sukla, and today in this video, I am going to explain chapter number 3 of class 6. That is a poem, and the name of the chapter is I Opened a Book. Dear student, this poem is composed by Julia Donaldson. So, firstly, I am going to tell you something about the composer. Dear student, Julia Donaldson is born 16th September 1948 in England. She is an English writer, playwright, and performer. So now I am going to explain the poem. So firstly I am going to read the poem for you. Try to understand it. I opened a book and in I strode. Now nobody can find me. I have left my chair, my house, my road, my town, and my world behind me. I am wearing the clock. I have slept on the ring. I have swallowed the magic potion. I have fought with a dragon, dined with a king, and dipped in a bottomless ocean. I opened a book and made some friends. I shared their tears and laughter, and followed their road with its bumps and bends to the happily ever after. I have finished my book and out I came. The clock can no longer hide me. My chair and my house are just the same. But I have a book inside me. Julia Donaldson. Dear student, this is the poem which I am going to explain. So dear student, this poem is divided into 4 stanzas. So I am going to explain the first stanza. Okay. The student or the children or anybody those are interested in reading books. Dear student, the imaginary world of a book bring to us remains with us longer after we read the book. Whenever we read any book, the incident, the story of that book remains in our mind for a long time. So here the writer, the poet, is also expressing her experience of reading books by this poem. So let's understand the experience of poet. So I am going to explain the first stanza. I opened a book and in I strode. Now nobody can find me. I have left my chair, my house, my road, my town, and my world behind me. So in this first stanza, the poet is going to open a book. Okay. She opened a book and she entered in the imagination of the book, in that imaginary world of the book. Now nobody can find her because by mind, by sense, she entered in the book. She is informing us that she have left her chair, her house, her road, her town, and her world behind her. Mean to say, she is in the book of the story. She is not in this real world. Now she has entered in the world of imagination of that magical book. So this is the explanation of the first stanza, that the poet opened a book and she entered into that book. She entered into the imaginary world of that book. She have left her chair, her house, her road, her town, and her world behind her. Mean to say, she has left the real world and entered into the imagination of the book. Now I am going to explain the second stanza, that is, I am wearing the clock, I have slept on the ring, I have swallowed the magic potion, I have fought with the dragon, dined with the king, and dived in a bottomless ocean. So in this stanza, in the second stanza, the poet was wearing the clock. The clock is a loose white colored garments that is without sleeve. So the poet was wearing the clock and entered, slept on the ring. She had swallowed the magic potion, that is a liquid made by magic. It improved the power, make powerful magician. So I have fought with a dragon means the poet was fighting with the dragon and she was taking dinner with the king, and then she dived in a bottomless ocean. The ocean was bottomless, without bottom. She was diving there. So these things she was doing in the world of imagination of the book. She was wearing the clock, she slept on the ring like a magician, she swallowed the magic potion. After that, she fought with the dragon, dined with the king, and dipped in a bottomless ocean. So, these activities the poet was doing in the world of imagination. She entered in the book and imagining these things. Now I am going to tell you about the third stanza, that is, I opened a book and made some friends. I shared their tears and laughter and followed their road with its bumps and bends to the happily ever after. Dear student, in the third stanza we can understand it that now the poet of this poem has opened another book and she made friendship with the characters of the book and she shared their tears and laughters. Mean to say, the poet has become the friend of the characters of the story. Whatever characters are in the story, upon them the story is written. So the poet became their friend and started to share their tears when the characters are in suffering or in any condition of sorrow, they are in any critical circumstances, then during that moment the poet share their tears, and when they are in happy moment, feeling happiness, any joyous occasion is happening with them, then the poet share their laughter and followed their road with its bumps and bends to the happily ever after. The poet followed their roads with its bumps and bends to the happily ever after. Mean to say, whatever circumstances or theme is happening in the stories with the characters, the poet follow their ups and downs and all the circumstances line by line, words by words, and to the happily ever after. Mean to say, whatever happening with them, she follow, she read everything, feel, share, and happily ever after. And now, dear student, the last stanza of this poem is very interesting, that I am going to explain. That I have finished my book and out I came. When the poet has finished reading the story books and came out into the real world, mean to say, once he started to read the books, she lost herself into the imagination of that book. And when she came out into the real world, so she got herself, the clock can no longer hide me, means she was no longer hidden by the clock. My chair and my house are just the same, but I have a book inside me. Her chair was at its perfect place, and her house is also at that same place. But she had the feeling of the book, the imagination of the book inside her. So, dear student, this is the summary and explanation of this poem, that the poet is going to start reading books and she entered into the imagination world of the book. She left the real world behind her. She was enjoying the story deeply. Whatever incident was happening in the story, she was feeling herself the part of that. She was wearing clock, slipped on the ring. She swallowed the magic potion, fought with a dragon, taken dinner with the king, then dived in bottomless ocean. After that, she made friendship with the characters of the story. She shared their happy and their sad moments. So these are the things she was doing with the characters of the story books. And then at last, when she finished reading the story book and came out in the real world, then she found herself, she was no longer hidden with the clock, and her chair, her house, her everything that is in this real world is at its perfect place. But still now, the story is inside her, mean to say, the feeling of the story is in his mind. So, dear student, this is the explanation of this story, this poem. I opened a book written by Julia Donaldson. I hope you understand the explanation very well. Thank you very much for watching this video.